Right, the probing question is, what does Sonko know about Ruto in 2022? And are there people meeting at night to sabotage Deputy President Ruto's ambition for 2022? This is what is headlining the front page of a Daily Nation today. Sonko, he says that Mount Kenya are plotting to block Ruto. And also, this also is well encapsulated in the Standard as well, where Sonko Mount Kenya leaders plan to sabotage Ruto's presidential bid, it says. And he says that politicians from Mount Kenya are hatching a plot to sabotage the Deputy President's 2022 ambitions. This is what Nairobi Governor has alleged. Mike Sonko claimed the leaders have been holding night meetings to plan how to incapacitate Deputy President William Ruto's presidential dream. And of course, we shall be looking at this with our panelists. But before we took a short break, we had Senator Isaac Mwaura straining out the leash to tell us something about devolution and the cash crisis that is happening right now. Very briefly, before we drill deeper on what is headlining the front page of a Daily Nation.
Thank you, Debarl. The issue about cash crunch, really, Kenyans need to understand is because of the fact that we had a long electioneering period, and we are even likely to amend the current Division of Revenue Act because we have a shortfall of 84 billion shillings because now KRA was not able to collect enough amount of money, and that means that we are not able to meet whatever, appropriations that we had made last year. And that also means the issue of cash flow management, as Governor Sonko has said, is a serious challenge, in terms of how we are executing our budget. But we need to really ask ourselves fundamental questions going forward. Because you find when we are looking at how we are sharing revenue, most of the monies that are going to counties are for recurrent expenditure. Did we, for example, make too many counties? Those are questions that we may not answer now, but we have to ask ourselves. Are these counties viable? Then the issue of on-source revenue. When I mean also on-source revenue, I mean, monies that counties themselves are collecting. Like if you look at Kiambu County, the revenues have gone down completely. Where, the county was able to collect about 2.4 billion, but now it's not even able to collect as much. And you see, now that means there will be huge deficits. And finally, the issue of employment. The new governors have come on board, and some of them are employing helter-skelter, anyhowly, without a proper plan. Yet there are people who are already on permanent pension, like these ward administrators, sometimes they were perceived to be supporters of the previous governor. So some of these issues need to be looked out into. There are so many gray areas in devolution that I think the Senate has got a lot of work to do.
All right. Let's hear from Senator Pogisa before we come
to... We just need to rethink the whole devolution agenda. I mean, we like to encourage devolution and strengthen it, but we need to rethink about the monies and how we divide our share of revenue, but also be able to predict a good year and a bad year in our finances. I think that knowing that we had elections, we should really have predicted that this was going to be a tough year, and then prevailed upon the governors and those who run the counties, for example, to slow down on employment or things like that, and so that we do not have this crunch. But I just wanted to mention one thing about the fringe counties, the counties in the north, the counties that are from the dry areas. And I want to say to you, the drought and the famine, which is experienced, the poverty. I was just in the county, and I tell you, believe you, hunger is really striking. And so a lot of the money, instead of going to development now, we'll have to think about how do you preserve the human being. And I think that because of that and this crunch, we're going to have a bit of development suffering this year. But we need to be clear to each other and say, the counties this year will not be able to do this because we don't have this kind of money, and the shortfalls. I think the communication breakdown in there, it should be fixed so that the county administrators and governors and others must really be able to carry this devolution forward without fail.
So you allude this particular cash crunch to poor planning?
Myself? Yes. I do think that there is a lack of communication in terms of what's coming in. You see, when governors are elected, what they do is they go and do exactly what the other governor was doing in terms of employing people without hindsight, without knowing exactly what he's going to get in his kitty. And theoretically he might know, but in actual sense, what goes in his kitty, he doesn't know. And I think that we should really be very clear what they're getting so that they can plan properly. So planning has become very difficult. And then the hunger and the famine and the effects of the last elections will also have to affect us.
Right. Let's hear from Governor Njuki.
Debarl, I've heard from senators, they seem to have an idea of what is happening out there. But I want to tell you the reality is totally different from what they think, because Debarl, if you're sitting in a modern car today in a traffic jam, and the car has been running on a battery when you switched off, most of the modern cars nowadays normally switch off all the equipment inside the car, including radio and AC, to save, for you to be able to start that car again to move. When there is a crisis, when there is a crunch, you need to know what do I prioritize, what can wait, what cannot wait. And I like what Dr. Pugis has said, despite the fact that he thinks we are employing people, that you have to make a decision between feeding the community and doing development for no one if these people are going to starve to death. And that is actually the situation at the moment. And the cause of that problem is basically, it was caused by all of us in Kenya at the moment. It's nothing to do with planning. Because during electioneering period, we do not only use a lot of money, we usually also have a reluctance by the Kenyans to pay taxes. You remember that is a time in this city, hawkers move into the streets. It is a time in this city when people think the government is not aware and they don't pay taxes. I'm not surprised that in Kiambu that the taxes have reduced what they have. When former Governor Kabogo decided to look for extra revenue sources, and people came up in arms saying that he is taxing even chicken when they were being slaughtered. You saw Kiambu really, they went up with the revenue collection. Now came the campaign period and people want favors. They want to impress the taxpayers, and they think the only way to impress taxpayers is reducing some of those taxes. And then everything goes down. And they expect later to have money to run the counties. I can tell you most of the counties at the moment are suffering because of those decisions that were made there by some candidates who said, let's reduce the taxes. I'll give you an example of some of the counties that surround the Mount Kenya region, including Tharaka Nithi County itself, where the border operators, you know, they have a massive industry nowadays. They consume a lot from our hospitals because, of course, in some wards you find we have a ward set aside for the borders people because of the accident that happened on the roads. They, of course, they are the ones who have filled the towns and also the roads. They are our people. We need to serve them. But even them, they need to realize that they need to give back something to the community to enable the government to continue serving them. Those border operators in most counties do not pay because they were seen as the people who are most likely able to campaign very easily for the candidates. And they were told, we have given you relief, please don't pay, campaign for us. And now we are suffering because of that. However, I'm not saying that the border really have a lot of revenue. Counties need to realize that we need to move the route of robbing the rich and giving to the poor. Why do I have to go and overtax a mama mboga who is selling cabbages on the streets? Well, I have a contractor who is doing a 1.2 billion contract in the neighborhood, who has not paid the excavation fee, who has not paid good money for plants, who has not paid for the parkings. That is the person they should go for. We have to learn to prioritize in terms of who should be able to pay more because they're earning more, so that we stop having these generalized revenue pacts where everybody just pays some amount of money according to the frequency that they think they actually trade. Right.
Let's hear from Omogoni. We'll come to Dr. Shemochodo. First of all, there is also a proposal from the Treasury that they seek to actually cap the revenue collection from the counties, and saying, of course, the estimates will be based, the revenue estimates will be based on historical performances. And I think this was a debate that was, I think, a few weeks ago here from the Treasury. I don't know how the counties received it. I don't know if you're really privy to this particular information, are you?
Yeah, I think there are two things here. One is that we really should be careful not to take away the independence of county governments. I think the first debate I saw is you get adverts in the newspapers when counties will say, now we have waived penalty interest on property rates, and to create an incentive to collect more, we are going to give you a 30 days period where interest is waived so that they collect more. And I think the Treasury was advancing an argument that the county governments don't have the legal backing to give any incentives in terms of doing away with the penalty interest. But I think when you look at the interest that are, the rates that are paid directly to the counties, my take would be that we should allow the counties to manage the collection of those taxes and put in place mechanisms of attracting enough payments to support them. But the other issue of management, I think the governor here will confirm that some of the money that is given to the counties is tied on good fiscal management, so that even as you hear that there are counties who have not received their disbursements maybe for the month of December, it's because they have not been able to file returns that are convincing to the controller of budget. So the government is trying to send a message to the governors that those who put in place good fiscal management will have a good flow of disbursements of money from the national government, which I think is a good thing. There is also money that is ring-fenced, money that comes from development partners. And the national government will not allow counties to draw that money unless they can account for it and don't divert the money. For example, if the NIDA is giving money for health, then the governor cannot say, my people have not received salary, I want to divert this money for payment of salaries. So I think as we go through this process of devolution, we want our county governments to be independent, but I think we also need to monitor the way they spend money so that they don't misuse and they don't divert resources. It's a very delicate balance between what the national government should do to keep an eye on the governors and also what the county government should do to ensure that we don't have wastage of the resources that we send to them.
All right, and the capping of the revenue collection, I think that was proposed by the Treasury. Yeah. That was way back in January.
Debarl.
Okay, you can have a go. You can have a go.
For me, I wanted to approach it from a slightly different angle. I think what we need at the national executive level is to have an austerity measure. Now that the temperatures, Kenya is going back to work. What the leadership should consider is to say, look, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we are, this is where the country stands. Let's tighten the belt, both at the national and county level. If that message came from the top leadership, that for the next 1 year or 6 months or whatever period of time that we have an austerity budget, I think we have enough to go around. There's a lot of pilferage, both at the national and county level. But short of doing that, we'll still see a lot of wastage. It's not that we don't have enough money to run our systems. Secondly, I think we need to, having talked to a number of MCAs, both serving and ex-MCAs, they say the major problem is weaknesses in internal audits. Even though the Auditor General comes up with the reports, most of it is post-expenditures. Much of the wastage and the pilferage goes because of the internal audits that are weak. I think that's an area that we need to strengthen. And then finally, of course, I think we cannot deny the fact that we need to rationalize the counties, 47 counties. Very few Kenyans that level-headed, so to speak, would say that we need to retain them as 47 as they are. I think many would agree that to make them viable, we probably need to start thinking of going back to 10, 12, 15, or that kind of number. They would probably be more viable. But above all else, prudent management of resources. That's the only silver bullet.
That's the only silver bullet. All right, let's hear from Isaac Mwaura. That issue of capping the tax revenue that was proposed by the Treasury, what will be your thoughts on those?
I think we've had very many conversations with the Council of Governors and the CRA and Control of Budget. And already the formula for distribution of money between the national and the county governments, it is inbuilt there. There is a percentage, I think 1% or so, if I'm not wrong, about how counties are able to raise the revenue. But counties are having problems because of issues of cash flow. For example, they need to be allowed to borrow short-term for payment of salaries. But even then, the question that arises is, how do you pay that interest? Governor Okong'o has got a very good plan, for example, in Kakamega, of building a 7 billion worth hospital. He needs to borrow 2 billion for equipment. How do you, ensure that this borrowing is properly monitored? Because if you look at the PFM law, it provides very stringent measures, but we need a more substantive legislation. The problem we have is that, as somebody said, that the challenge of the 21st century is to learn and relearn. If we are able to, arrest the challenges we have seen at the national government, at the counties, things would move. But as at now, really, counties are not collecting enough revenue to sustain their budgets. If you look at the budgets from various counties, you see most of those are predicated upon revenue collection. Mm-hmm. Now, right now, we are talking about, a freezing of 314 billion. Okay, that's what we've agreed, because the country doesn't have money. But in actual sense, when you look at it, there may be challenges even around the health sector, because you need to honor the CBA, you see, which is about 11.8 billion. You see, those are some of the issues. The counties have also been given a transfer of roads, 31,000 kilometers.
Yes.
These roads, again, you find that there are challenges around how much are we going to give, but we don't have that kind of money. So we have to ask ourselves serious questions, because we don't just want to have, counties like Flower Boys and Flower Girls. They are just to pay people salaries, but there is no real development happening. We have to ask ourselves that question, because why not for the fact that, if you have 300 billion, Debarl, 300 billion every year going to counties without any tangible development, collectively, then you should ask yourself whether that is really something that we need to continue pursuing. Because if you are to get the same amount of money, that Kibaki had before he came to devolution, then you see the kind of development he was able to do. We have to ask ourselves those difficult questions, because it is not somebody's own making. I pity the governors, because it's like you're walking into a tight trap. You promise, and then you end up finding that you cannot deliver. You tell people, oh, this governor is wrong because they were asking you to pay more. Then when you get there, you need that money to implement, and then you find it's not possible. Like now in Kiambu County, as I finish, people are supposed to start paying for their licenses this March. And the people are complaining, the traders are complaining that the county government, officials are taking over their assets, their merchandise, and that does not augur well for governance. When you tell bar owners, and I think this is not something that we need to belabor, that they need to close and reapply for licenses because of these illicit drinks. It's okay, it's fine, nobody supports it, but these are also businesses. They have taken loans, they have liability. So we need to really rethink how we are going about this whole issue.
All right, let's hear from Pogisio.
Yes, and I think there are many things that we cannot belabor on this point, but one of the things that we focus on, as I said, is we keep devolution going. We support the county governments, but I think that our weakness has been seen now, that even KRA could not collect enough, the counties are not collecting enough. So there is only one source now, which is that revenue which is available for sharing. And so how do we grow that? And I think that we must then agree to cut on wastages, which is a very difficult thing. And I think that we would also want to see how it will work so that we can get sourced from somewhere else in terms of allowing the counties to run in the short term, so that we can actually then go back to our revenue collection formula and allow the counties to proceed with our resources. But for now, development is going to be very tough.
All right. And what is, just to close on this particular comment, by coming back to you, Governor Muthoni Njuki, first of all, we have the budget report, showing that revenue collection from the counties actually has been deteriorating since 2014, 2016, 2014, 2015, 2016, and even now we have it worse in 2017.
Well, Debarl, first let us agree that devolution is working, and Kenyans will not have it any other way. There's serious difference between what we had in 2012 and what we have today. And on revenue collection, we also have to admit that there was improvement from what we used to have by the local councils, the municipal council, the county councils. You cannot compare the revenues used to collect vis-a-vis what the counties are collecting. Is like day and night. It's totally different, double, triple. The only problem came towards elections, and the revenue may not have reduced from 2014. It's around 2016 going to the elections.
We have records from the budget reports, 2014, 2015, yes. Because now you've been actually...
Of course, they're basing it on... they're basing it on what was collected when the counties came in, not what was there before. I'm trying to say, yes, there's been reduction, but it's still not, you cannot compare it to what used to be there during the days of the county councils, the municipal councils. We need to up our game in collecting taxes, both at the county level and the national level. And the Kenyans need to be aware that the revenue that they pay to the counties and the national government is the same that is used in developing them. And that is something we need to have acceptance. However, the problem is where we have had misappropriations in the past. And therefore, wananchi feel, yes, we are paying so much, but where is it going? That is a big question. And those are gaps that should be sealed.
Talking of gaps, it seems, yes, from the counties, you have a very poor sort of, source of tapping the revenue streams.
I can tell you for sure that, yes, there have been systems that have not been very efficient because most counties have not automated. And the automation of revenue, of course, may come with increase, or even not very careful, it may also come with cyber thieves who will hack into your system, and you think you're solving the problem, but you're also creating a problem. It is something that we need to have a collective effort to be able to ensure that we collect effectively and also utilize effectively if our people have to develop. But I want to, as I finish, tap into what our governors say about, I mean, not our governor, but senators say about the employment. I want to confess to you today, most governors are crying foul over the wage bill. And therefore, I don't see governors who are really employing at the moment. At the moment, we are concerned with cutting down to manageable sizes. So if you find an employment that has taken place, probably is where you have a lot of unskilled labor, and you want to maybe replace 50 people with unskilled skilled labor with 5 people who have skilled labor. That could be the only difference. That is rationalization. But really going to massive employment, Dr. Ochodo, I think that would be going to the wrong direction.
Sure. All right, let's go to the what we have on the front page of a Daily Nation, and of course, with promise of viewers, we'll look deeper onto these. Let's hear from Isaac, first of all, that yes, there is a plot. You will say that this is actually Sonko who knows better, so he cannot really comment on this. But this has been there. We have people who have also, weigh in on the comments, and they said, of course, Raila Odinga, President Uhuru Kenyatta, should be very careful. We had also from the governor of Kiambu saying, this is ni jamaa wa kuchora huyu. Yeah, you better be careful. This is a jamaa wa kuchora. This is what he said. We've had also Senator Kindiki Kithure saying that, first of all, you need to be very careful because Raila is a very cunning man. That is what he said. So when we have such sentiments that are being thrown about, what does it portend also for this particular bromance that we have right now between President Kenyatta and, of course, Raila Odinga? You are casting aspersions, aren't you?
I think there are two questions you're asking about my opinion about the handshake and also the issue of Mount Kenya region. Let me first start with the first one. There is no doubt that Raila Odinga is a very gifted politician. If you doubt that, you need to look at how he has cannibalized Wetangula, Mudavadi, and Kalonzo into almost political oblivion as at now. But at the same time, we need also to agree that this country was not doing very well. We were deeply divided. Debarl, you couldn't call us to this show without shouting at each other instead of debating because of the deep divisions and mistrust that had developed. So it's a question of taking opportunity, to address whatever challenges that we have as a country because of the existing goodwill. That is something that cannot be gainsaid. It is absolutely great. And I also think both President Uhuru and Right Honorable Raila Odinga, they want to leave a legacy. you know, where you have a united country, that despite our political differences, we can actually, you know, say, okay, this is how we see things differently, but in actual sense, we want the best for this country. That we must take advantage of, including the challenges that we have in the Constitution, because indeed there are serious challenges around there. But coming to the question of Sonko, first and foremost, I want to commend him, because after he automated his systems, he's collecting more revenue, and he's actually declaring. He said the other day he was able to collect 4.6 billion. Whether some of it is hidden or not, but at least that is the only governor I've seen, you know, coming out to say how much he's able to collect. So it's good to give credit where it's due. But he must be concentrate on the issues of Nairobi, because they are many and far-reaching. In fact, he should really be serious about the actualization of Nairobi metropolitan, you know, area, because it consists of 10% of all our population and a great number, about nearly 50% of our GDP. The issue of Mount Kenya has risen even in our PG as Jubilee, and the president is very categorical. He is our leader, and he says that the final year he will actually come out to campaign for one William Samoei Arap Ruto, who we are backing. There may be some people who want to reorganize, re-strategize, and that is fair enough, but we have agreed in principle that the person that we are backing for 2022 is none other than William Ruto. So it is just a question of creating division and suspicion, and maybe also Sonko is trying to make himself a bit relevant and to divert attention from the problems in Nairobi. But I wish that he would concentrate on Nairobi and leave the issues of 2022 in abeyance, because we are in safe hands with William Ruto, and our leader from Mount Kenya region is undisputed, is Uhuru Kenyatta.
All right, so Governor Muthomi Njuki, you think there is any meeting actually that is happening, these night meetings?
I would
are you privy
say
to any meetings?
This is just politics that are supposed to rekindle some very, very animated debates around this area. And I think this is supposed to divert attention from what is happening in NASA. The fact that Jubilee was able to build a formidable party is definitely not questionable. And as far as we are talking about 2022, it's already a done thing. It is not a walk in the park that today you can just come out from nowhere and declare the candidature for the presidency in 2022, knowing the people who have been lining up for the same. I don't see anybody in Central at the moment. It doesn't matter whether meetings are being made at night or day, who can be able to effectively rival and succeed to be able to remove William Ruto from that slot that he has actually carved for himself. I want to remind you and remind the people that we call Mount Kenya region, and I am also included there, that the success and the win by one President Uhuru in 2013 would not have been possible without William Ruto. Equally, in 2017, it would not have been possible without his input, not only the votes that he brings from the side of divide, but also the kind of campaigning he does. The mobilization skills that one DP William Ruto has is not rivaled by anybody in Mount Kenya region. And therefore, thinking that it is possible to wish him away in 2022, I think it's a very big pie to bite. It may not be possible in this particular case. Right. So if there are meetings that are taking place, and I would like to say, yes, there could be a possibility, I cannot be very sure. All right, let's see from they could be talking about who is going to deputize William Ruto. It's not about who is going to actually compete with him. So you must separate those two. Who will deputize him vis-a-vis who is going to compete with him. All right. Dr. Shemachodo, for a comment.
Debarl, there are lessons to be learned here. Maybe the younger politicians, in this regard, Mheshimiwa Pogisio perhaps is the elder in politics here. Let's not put trust in men. Personally, I put my trust in God. Secondly, put trust on the people, not individuals. I think what we have seen happen, and we are likely to continue to see happen, is going to confirm that fact that never put trust in man. And that applies both ways, NASA and Jubilee. Even Jubilee is beginning to implode. I think realignments are what we're likely to see in the countdown to 2022. But I want to make a passionate appeal to the media that I think as some of my colleagues are saying, some of these are diversionary. Yet there are such important issues we should be talking about. There's so much rain, we should be harvesting, and the economy is in shambles and so on, that we should be focusing on. For me, the ideal would be, I'd want to look at what are the best and worst case scenarios. Perhaps I should begin with the best case scenario. If the handshake, and in this regard, let me reveal that was private to elders having been meeting. I do know that elders have been meeting in Kericho, in Kisumu, in Eldoret, and other places, and they'll continue meeting to try and bring together the country. I think that's commendable. As of, I think it was 7th of March, or the Wednesday night, before the handshake on Friday, it was private to elders across communities that met and met the leaders, softening the ground. This has been going on for a while, and I think it's healthy, not only the elders, but also the clergy, to bring the country together. So in terms of what the best case scenario, I think President Kenyatta and the former Right Honorable leaving a legacy both ways, that, you know, as we exit the space, we are leaving a united Kenya. That would be the best that would happen, and that's the best case scenario. Whether it's what's going to happen and what it would mean, I can only say what it would mean. One, for me, it would mean non-tribal politics, because currently we basically have a census of ethnic groups, and these two are majorly beneficiaries from that. As to whether they'll be bold enough, they'll be statesmanly enough to say, let's look, for our future generations, let's change the ball game. Let's make it non-tribal. That would be the first thing that's important for me to happen. The second would be inclusive and incorruptible Kenya. If they did that, although it comes out in their statements, but I'm also alive to the politicians who speak with one mouth, but they actually don't mean that. If they meant that, that would be very helpful. Thirdly, if there would be equitable development, I have spent the better part of the past 1 week in Nyanza. Really, it's a deplorable situation. There's a lot of confusion. There are those who are diehard NASA supporters who are left in limbo. They wonder, have we been to Canaan? Are we still on the way? Are we out of Canaan? So there's a lot of confusion. And I think you can cheat some people sometime, but you can't cheat everybody all the time. And I think this is what our leaders need to know. Finally, in terms of the national dialogue, the best case scenario is if these two come up and allow genuine national dialogue that's multi-sectoral, that's all-inclusive, that's homegrown, that's people-driven. That would be the best. For me, the worst case scenario is if people just create positions. For those who think that President Uhuru will be out of the equation in 2022, or Right Honorable Prime Minister, I think they need to think twice. For me, that would be the worst case scenario.
All right, they need to think twice, because we don't have any memorandum of understanding. Even if we have Deputy President William Ruto being touted to be the one that will be, of course, taking that position, there is no memorandum of understanding completely. Of course, we can see 5 years is a long time. Things might just change along the way. So do you agree with that particular, of course, view that Dr. Shema Chodha is holding, that, we cannot dismiss Right Honorable Raila Odinga, we cannot dismiss President Uhuru Kenyatta as well?
I mean, really, you'll be naive. You know, they say when Raila sneezes, so many people will catch a cold. So you can see the impact of that handshake. But, you know, two things. If we were talking about a mature democracy, we will not be talking about William Ruto being the automatic candidate for Jubilee, yes, for 2022 presidential candidate. We would have expected a situation where even a governor here would be saying, when we retreat to pick our candidate for 2022, I will also offer myself as a candidate. But what we have here is a situation where you want to tell the public that we will not even give you room to consider being a candidate for Jubilee in 2022. I think that's not a good thing for democracy in this country. We need to build parties that are not owned by individuals, that allow you know, people to grow within the structure of a party, whereby anybody can spring out and say, I want to challenge William Ruto for 2022, and the party will give him the freedom to campaign and choose the candidate through a fair, free process. Mm-hmm. But I think when you listen to what the governor is telling us, it's like there's no room for democracy.
It is cast in stone, yes.
Yes, but when you see Sonko speaking, don't take it lightly. When you are being told that there are meetings taking place in Mount Kenya, I cannot rule that one out. And I just want to remind my good friend William that, you know, they say politics is a very dirty game. he may not, let him not just think that because he supported the president in 2013 and 2017, he will be rewarded in 2022. Many things can happen, disappointments, you can be betrayed. So, and you can see the way he's reacted. If you have seen the past 1 week, William Ruto has been very aggressive. You saw him at the coast, you saw him with a contingent of this weekend in Central. So I think he's alive to these things, that there could be some meetings ongoing, and he's come out very aggressively. And I will also say, other than one Raila Odinga, you can also not write off William Ruto. He's a very, very aggressive politician.
Right, let's hear from Senator Pugisio.
Yeah, there are telltale signs that Sonko may have a point. One of them is that it's Sonko speaking, and Sonko is not just a main character in the Jubilee hierarchy. And also the fact that when he spoke, no one said anything to the contrary in his presence. And so there are telltale signs that Sonko could actually be saying something that we need to pay attention to. And I don't necessarily like the way we dismiss it as though we are not living in a live political situation. Secondly, as senior counsel here says, Morgan says, the real situation is, you can see it in the body language of one William Ruto. It's also another telltale sign that instead of relaxing and saying, I've been ring-fenced for 2022, he's busy actually campaigning. He's busy going around campaigning. And so we must realize that even though you've been promised something, you must put your effort in it. And also being alive to the fact that there is a handshake. The handshake cannot leave us the way we've been. The handshake is meant to reorganize us. It wasn't just a mere photo opportunity. I don't believe so. And so I do believe, Debarl, that we need to pay attention to Mike Sonko and what he's saying. But more importantly, let's not move our focus from the nationalistic agenda we have that is caused by the handshake. I think that when we start talking about 2022 and the candidates, we are basically saying nothing happened. And I want us to say, let's focus on the fact that something has happened in this country. When Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta shook hands, something happened in the country. The mien of the country, and as I've said, the demeanor in the country, in the political sphere, has changed. And so I do believe that we should focus on that. How do we bring Kenyans now to a place where they trust each other? How do we bring Kenyans to a place where now they can begin to feel included? How do we bring Kenyans to see that what they suffered was not in vain? And I think that that's why we should not allow the politics of 2022 and the candidacies to take over that particular agenda. We have seen suffering because of our political divisions. Let's not revive it by bringing a debate about who is who right now. Besides, Debarl, I think that we should think about that we're going to do something within our constitution, to amend our constitution, to bring a change in our political alienations, our political alignments, rather. And so we should even this thing we should be discussing. And besides, Ruto mwenyewe, Ruto in his own words, he's saying, let's stop this business. So why are we beginning to cry louder than the Ruto himself? Mheshimiwa Ruto, the DP, is saying, let the debate change to how we unite Kenyans. All right. And so that's what I think we should focus on.
All right, so when you talk about political realignment and amending the constitution, are you in a subtle way saying that maybe there is constitutional changes and amendment in the offing, right? To try and, of course, you know, make sure that this realignment, it's in tandem with the constitution through an amendment?
Well, it won't be. What I'm talking about is that time has come for us to relook at our constitution anyway. It's time. The 10 years.
You think this is a providential time right now that we're having this
but
particular
even now, if we were to make any amendments right now, in any of anything in our constitution, we can still do it. Except that I'm just saying that let's be alive to it. The handshake is not for nothing. There is a movement to make sure to increase the space that allows all of us to participate in.
Right. Let's hear from Governor Sonko.
Thank you, Debarl. I want to look at the statement that have been made by our controversial lawyer, now Senator Okong'o, about the situation in Mount Kenya about democracy and William Ruto. He seems to have confirmed, yes, William Ruto is not someone you can wish away. The charm offensive that he has at the moment in those areas that he has been seen initially to be a bit weak is an indication that he's ready to deal with any form of competition. There's a difference in saying that even if he has competition, he'll still come out as a victor, vis-a-vis saying that he will not have any competition. Yes, there's a possibility he can have competition, of course, in the Jubilee Party during the nomination, as it were. It would even be worse if he has competition by somebody from those regions that are seen to be predominantly Jubilee, maybe in a different party. That would be the real competition. But within the party, that may not really be a competition as such. And knowing very well that even when Uhuru Kenyatta ran, we still had competition even from within. It does not mean that William Ruto will not have any competition. But it is, we are saying that those who have walked the talk with him from 2013 and there, when we joined as probably TNA, URP, and those affiliated parties, then later Jubilee, always had the notion and the belief that in 2022 William Ruto will be our candidate. However, let us not wish away what is happening with the very controversial handshake that has taken place and has rattled almost all the Kenyans. I don't read any politics that affect 2022 in that handshake. Probably the only issue is it spells death to NASA coalition, vis-a-vis what we may be thinking at the moment. You know, when Jubilee came together in 2017, 2016, and said we need to dissolve all those affiliated parties and have one party, these are the things we are avoiding. Because today, if NASA was one party, Moses Wetangula would not be talking about this Fort Kenya and this Fort people. He would be even ashamed to go back and say, ask the Luhya community, because that now becomes tribal. But at the moment, he's using the scapegoat of, yes, us as Fort Kenya, us as Fort people, us as, I think, what Musalia Mudavadi has as a party. Yet, they are outfits that are made out of tribes, as it were. And to me, if they were what the Kenyans had perceived them to be, people with focus ahead, they should be very happy that they were getting out of the wings of one Raila Odinga. Because without Raila Odinga, what is NASA at the moment? So instead of getting out and saying now we have an opportunity to be able to form our own outfits and be seen to be people who fight for the cause of the right, they are going after the wrong target. I think they have the guns trailed on the wrong target. Raila Odinga may not be in the equation in 2022. So Wetangula and Mudavadi, if they're interested in 2022, they should not be going after Raila Odinga. They should be trailing their guns on the people they're going to compete against in 2022. Right. Okay. That's why they have it wrong.
All right, let's say from Isaac, what happens then to inter-party democracy? If we have one person being positioned or poised, you know, for 2022 as a presidential candidate, who is William Samoei Ruto, and we have other candidates, as you've alluded to, that yes, you know, they have what it takes to be the president of this country, yet the perception that is being perpetrated to the public is that, yes, this is a choice of a Jubilee Party. What happens to inter-party democracy? And I think this is where we have this issue of democracy that is being raised by Omogidi.
Yeah, I think we must face the reality of our Kenyan politics, whereby we really, it's about blocks. It's about, you know, which regions vote for who at what point in time. And the others are just in as top-ups, unfortunately. That's the truth. So when you see, you know, there has been a very tight pact between the Mount Kenya region and the Kalenjin nation. And it has worked in 2 elections. And by then, not just 2 elections. If you look at the Kenyatta regime, it actually worked then, because the deputy was Moi, and they were able to rule. But of course, other Kenyans would also want to say we also need a chance. That's why there's the issue of inclusion versus exclusion, that whole debate. Now, what looks to be interesting is a situation where you have the Nyanza region, Mount Kenya region, and the Kalenjin region appearing like they're in this kind of semblance of political, you know, space. where they are together. So it, of course, makes people to be jittery because it is not something that is expected. You know, for a very long time, people from Mount Kenya region actually rise up to vote against Raila Odinga, for example. So when there is this handshake, you are not so sure because we have also seen such unity in the past between Raila, Kibaki, you know, and all of that. So the issue is what is likely to emerge by 2022. By the way, politics is the art of the possible. Could it be possible that these three regions could vote, you know, in one in 2022? And you know, if that were to happen, that would be a fait accompli. I don't think there will be any other equation. If the Nyanza region, Mount Kenya region, and Kalenjin land are able to agree on something, and we can even hear, for example, you know, people saying, you know, William Ruto made Raila Odinga the prime minister, you know, in 2007. So he has something to pay back to, you know. So when you hear such kind of talks, when you start hearing people like Aisha Dumwa and the Coast region saying 2022 is William Ruto. So let us see how it unravels. I hope it's going to be handled with the care for the benefit of Kenyans. But having also said that, we must not, you know, underestimate any politician. What I would want to say is, the Luhya nation. Yesterday I watched a TV program where there was one person from Fort Kenya, the other one from ODM, the other one from ANC. When you are, and they are all from the Luhya nation. You know, when you start speaking that way, nobody takes you seriously. Unfortunately, that's the tribal cards that are played in this country. I know my brother, Dr. Shembo Ojuoda, would say about ethnic census. I wish. There's no way you can ascend to political power through the tribe and then demolish it. Right. There's no way you can ascend to political power through corruption and then fight the same corruption.
All right. Maybe I want to just direct to my question very briefly. So is the choice of William Ruto, right, the collective position of the Jubilee Party?
As at now, yes. As at now, yes, because we feel that William Ruto has stood with our man, Uhuru Kenyatta, to the... I mean, he's really...
So that's the position of the party right now?
Yes, that's the position, yes.
All right. Let's hear from Shemo Chodo.
Debarl, personally, my position on the ethnicizing Kenya politics won't change. I've suffered immensely for it the past 15, 20 years, but I'm proud to keep it that way because I am confident one day it will change. When we're fighting to get the opposition together in 2002, we were told they would never unite to get KANU out. We all know it came to pass. During independence fight, the patriots were told, you know, Mwafrika with a rungu can never throw away the mzungu. But again, we also know it all came to pass. So as long as we're on the right path, I have no issues, qualms with Mheshimiwa Mudavadi, Wetangula, and so. But when they start talking of Luhya Nation uniting, then I feel a bit jittery. But having said that, it's a very interesting article in Nation today on page 15, an op-ed piece by Kamau Ngotho, where he's talking about where Wanjiku could get road deal in Uhuru Raila handshake. I think Kenyans need to pay much attention here, even though the two principles are also talking of inclusion, inclusivity. Does this exclusion, inclusion, inclusivity mean the same thing to all Kenyans? Kamau seems to decry the fact that could it be just expanding the cabinet from the current 20 to 40 to accommodate the top leaders? Is that the inclusion that we are talking about? For me as Shem, I would say that's not the inclusion I'm talking about. Let it trickle right down to the grassroots. Inclusion, not only in national government, in public offices, but even in the county government. Because I take Migori County, for example. I know the Luos are the major community, but there are also lawyers there are also couriers and so on. Let there be not only the face of Migori. In fact, if I had the power, I would say, let 90% of the staff in the county government be from the county itself, be the face of the county. But a small portion, 5–10%, let it also to be the rest of the Kenyans, because this is how we bring the country together. So I think we need to interrogate, when we talk of inclusion, let it be more the national agenda rather than providing positions for people just at the top.
All right, Omogeni, also as we are preparing your closing remarks.
Yeah, you know, it saddens me when we reduce our multi-party politics into politics of tribes. You know, I feel saddened as a Kenyan, you know, when we appear here and we say we are addressing the issues of Kalenjin Nation, the issues of Luhya Nation. You know, the main purpose of, you know, making Kenya multi-party state is to allow people who have vision to ascend to presidency, notwithstanding their you know, ethnic background. And I want to remind my learned my colleague here, Mwaura, what Obama, you know, told the whole world when he became the president of the US. You know, he said, if there is a day we have proved that indeed the American dream is still valid, then it is the day that Obama became the president of the United States of America. And if we really want to help this country, if we are keen in uniting this country, if we are keen in having a country that has inclusivity, then this is the moment we should start our debate of let's do away with these issues of our ethnicity and look at people who can deliver an agenda for this country, an agenda that can fight corruption, agenda that can unite this country, an agenda that can entrench democracy. I began by saying that I'm looking forward to a time when, after elections, the party, Jubilee, will focus on opening the field and say our nominations will be 2 years to elections, and it's open to anybody who can come and convince the party leadership that, yes, indeed, come and we can give you the nomination. Just look at what happened in South Africa. And that's my closing remarks. Look at that institution called the National Executive Council, NEC, of ANC in South Africa. You know, they are able to sit down and say, look, the president is tainting the image of our party in terms of the corruption allegations surrounding him, and they say we want to recall the president and put in place a new issue-based politics. Debarl, if there is a dream that we should all have as politicians, is to really divorce our ethnic backgrounds from our national politics. That's the only way we can unite this country. That's the only way we can have a country that future generations will be proud of.
Right, thank you. Let's also get some closing remarks from Dr. Shemo Chodho briefly as we're winding up. If we're talking about issue-based politics, does also posing and posturing William Ruto as the presidential candidate for 2022, is that also, you know, a very robust party? Is it also a very mature party where we don't have the National Executive Council now coming together to actually give the nomination ticket to anyone, but posturing someone?
Debarl, like
very briefly, 30 seconds.
Like the other colleagues say, you can't wish William Ruto away. I think if there's going to be a divorce, it's going to be very messy. I think everybody would know that. But again, that's different from issues-based politics. I think we need to move away from personalities. What we desire, and I'm alive to the fact that the multi-sectoral forum is working towards a national dialogue, which I hope can work in tandem together with what the two principles, Prime Minister Raila and President Kenyatta have come up with, that we give Kenyans a genuine national dialogue on a roadmap that will give the better, what Kenyan do we want? A progressive, prosperous, united, democratic, and peaceful Kenya.
30 seconds are over. Let's hear from Isaac Moore.
I think there were prenups, so there is no divorce, because we agreed that we are going to support William Ruto. We are ready and willing to do so for the sake of this country, and we hope and believe that Jubilee is indeed an inclusive party, and it will be strengthened going forward. And 5 years from now, also, the same statement will be tripping off your tongue. We'll hold you. Yes, we'll watch. Let's hear also from the Senator Pogisio.
Well, I would be remiss if I did not take this opportunity to congratulate two teams from West Pokot County, Tartar Girls and the Kapenguria Heroes, that won the Safaricom sponsored tournament, and they actually beat Gor Mahia Youth, and they're going to go to London. That's the first. Two teams. The girls did not make it, but the boys made it, and so there'll be one team for the girls from I think Kisumu, and then the other one is from West Pokot. That's a first. Pokot can play football. Now, let me just end by saying that we look forward to a united Kenya, a much faster development because of the handshake. But let's focus on that as our politics. And I think the politics of who becomes a candidate will come in automatically. And I think we'll be a stable country. I think I just look forward to a country where development can begin and devolution can now happily develop as well.
Right, thank you. Your Excellency.
Debarl, allow me to say that even as a politician, I feel sad that we give our Kenyan voters a road deal, because these people usually vote very hard, but I think we usually don't give them value for their vote. When we decide after being elected we can spend the next 5 years just doing politics again. It is important for us to put aside politics, especially the ones that bring changes in the economy of the country, to be able to work for the people and deliver. And even as we go back to politics, at least we'll have been doing something that can be able to benefit the people who put us in the position. But allow me, lastly, to talk directly to Shem Ochodo and ask him to please stop being a prophet of doom in thinking that we're going to have a very ugly divorce in the coalition that we have at the moment. There will be no divorce, ugly or otherwise, because we are focused on ensuring that what William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta promised when they came from The Hague, they said there will never be bloodshed in this country because of an election, especially coming from them. Right. That is something, as people who are in Jubilee, are willing to walk the talk.
Thank you. And of